Whiskey Charlie. This is a directed net, open to all amateur radio operators, and all are welcome. The purpose of this net is to provide the latest information concerning the St. Mary's County Amateur Radio Association and its activities. I will take net check-ins, make any announcements, then list a topic for discussion. This is net control. At this time, I will take check-ins starting with club officers, then echo link check-ins, followed by mobile or portable, and finally all others. Please use the phonetics and the hesitation method by saying "this is," allowing the repeater to drop, and then giving me your name and call sign. Are there any club officers wishing to check in? Please come now.
Yes, K3HKI, this is AC3CU, Neil, Great Mills.
This is November 3 Alpha Kilo, John Lexington Park.
Good evening, gentlemen. I have our secretary, Neil, AC3CU, and I have our president, John, N3AK. Are there any other officers wishing to check into the St. Mary's County Amateur Radio Association Weekly Net? Please come now. Okay, let's move on to our mobile, portable, or emergency-powered stations. Please come now. Are there any mobile, portable, or emergency-powered stations wishing to check into the net tonight? Please come now. Okay, none heard. Let's go to regular check-ins. Please come now with your name and location and call sign. This is Kilo K3HKI holding the St. Mary's County Amateur Radio Association Weekly Net. Please come now.
This is
Kilo Alpha 3, Whiskey Alpha Papa, Steve in Lexington Park, Maryland.
This is Kilo Bravo 1 Yankee Zulu, Jim in Mechanicsville.
This is Whiskey 3 Golf Field Tango W3GYT, Walt in California, Maryland.
This is Whiskey 3 Oscar Sierra Tango, Rick in Mechanicsville. This is Kilo Charlie 3 Whiskey Bravo Radio, Rob. I'm actually portable.
Okay, good evening, gentlemen. All right, so I have Rob, KC3WBR on a portable. I have Steve, KA3WAP on regular check-in. I have Jim, KB1YZ, Walt, W3GYT, Rick, W3OST. Are there any other check-ins for the net tonight? Please come now. Okay, well, good evening, everybody. It's nice to hear you on the St. Mary's County Net tonight, and thanks for meeting me over here on the Leonardtown repeater. We have a couple of events coming up, as I'm sure you may know, and anyone who is just listening checked in. We have our field day coming up here on the 22nd of June, and hopefully our officers will have some updates on that. We have some repeater maintenance going on, so hopefully we might be able to hear something about that today as well, which is why we're on this repeater currently. And then also we are doing planning for our Tailgate Fest, which is going to be October 12th. So let's go ahead and head over to our officers here and see if there's any announcements for us. Neil, AC3CU, our secretary, how are you tonight, sir?
Good, this is AC3CU. Good evening, Rachel, and everyone on the net. Thanks for taking the net, Rachel. I'm doing good. I don't really have any announcements. I missed the last planning session. I completely forgot all about it. Some other stuff came up that day and just messed up my mind. So I don't have anything additional on that. So I'll send it back to you, Rachel. AC3CU.
Well, thank you so much, Neil. Yeah, honestly, I didn't make that Zoom session either. I'm not even certain where I was. I know as we've had, like I said, life just gets busy sometimes, and that just happens. So we're glad that you're with us today, though, and we look forward to seeing you in person, hopefully, at Field Day. So let's go down to John, N3AK. How are you tonight, sir? Do you have any announcements for the net?
Hey, good evening, Rachel, and everybody tonight. Appreciate you running the net. Not really. There's not much more to put out about Field Day. I think everything that's going to be nailed down has pretty much been nailed down. We might try to get together for last minute checkup, so keep an eye on groups.io for any last minute notes to maybe do a Zoom session or something the week before. And yeah, looking forward to seeing everybody there. It's gonna be good times, hanging out, talking with people there and on the air, and always some good food there. So it's definitely something I've been looking forward to this whole year so far. And let's see what else. I hear that we have most of the components in place at the museum to get that station up and running. I did get a chance to find out what we're still missing, but it sounded like really all we need is a radio in place and, set an operator in front of it, and maybe we're good to go. So I know Walt would be happy to hear that. He's been wanting to get that station online, and I think we all have been actually. So once we get that going, I'm kind of looking forward to maybe getting a roster up to get people heading out there on weekends and keeping that station alive and getting people interested in ham radios or just people walking by maybe have questions and stuff. So that'd be I hope that's going to work out well. Let's see, for Tailgate Fest, I don't have any information on that. I can't remember if Jim, I don't think Jim's checked in yet, so maybe he'll check in and give some information on that. But we still got a few months, so get plenty of time to plan for that. That's all I have, Rachel. Thanks again for running the net. This is N3AK back to K3HKI. Almost forgot to call.
Well, thank you so much, John. Yeah, that's really great news to hear about that station at the museum. It's been a long time coming, labor of love, and it's great to hear that things are moving forward. And like I said, for those of you looking for field day information, please make sure you go on the groups.io. We do know that setup is at 9 a.m. on Saturday, and then lunch is usually between 12:30 and 1 o'clock. And then kickoff is at 2 o'clock for the actual radio play. So that's sort of that loose, the loose information, and then of course things will be more final as we get closer. So I'll be clear with the officers for tonight. Are there any check-ins that to add to the roster? Please come now.
This is Tony, N5 TV, Great Mills.
Well, Tony, it is sure damn good to hear your voice, sir. You keep scaring the crap out of us, and we're glad to hear you. So thanks for joining us tonight. So is there anyone else wishing to check into the net before we go into announcements and our rounds? Please come now. Okay, none heard. So our topic for the night is a little bit more of a fun topic because we're up to our eyeballs doing work kind of stuff when it comes to field day and tailgate fest, and making sure that we're fixing equipment and all that kind of stuff. So let's keep it a little bit light and simple. And for me, the topic is. Who have you met through ham radio that you would have never expected to meet? Friends that you've met, unusual people, whether it be on a running into someone who happens to be a ham or an actual really interesting QSO, whatever it is you want to talk about. And that's going to be our topic. Before I'll get into mine really quick, but I'll grab a nickel. So, living in a little cul-de-sac neighborhood, we have a lot of people that walk through our neighborhood with their dogs and whatnot. Well, the other day, we had a family member visit somebody who lives lives 2 houses down from us, and he pulls up in his vehicle, gets out, he walks over to us, and he goes, "Are those ham radio towers in your back?" And we're like, "Yeah, it sure is." Chris and I were sitting out on the front porch, I was sitting out on the front porch, and he ends up coming in, and we end up having a great conversation. He's a Vietnam vet, was a radio man, and got his provisional license being a radio man during Vietnam, and wants to get back into it. So he came in, we showed him the setup and everything, and it was a great conversation with a really fantastic guy that we wouldn't have met if we didn't have towers sitting in the backyard. So it was just kind of a fun thing for us, just doing what we do and being willing to share it. So that's what we have, and that's the topic. So let's go to the top of the list here. We'll go back to our officers for comment, and then we'll head back down from there. So Neil, how you doing? AC3CU, what kind of interesting stuff can you tell us about the people you've met in ham radio?
Well, Rachel, I can't say I've met a whole lot of people yet, except for the people in the club, which has been great. Hopefully I'll be able to meet some more interesting people coming up in the near future, other than the people in the club. The people in the club have been great. It's been interesting. There's been quite a diverse group of people with a lot of talent there. So hopefully I'll meet some more stuff and more people and get more information and spread things around a little bit more. So with that, I'll send it back to you, Rachel. AC3CU.
Well, thank you so much, Neil. I think you're probably being modest, though, for as long as you've been in ham radio. I'm sure you've probably met more people that you've probably forgotten than remember. But we are so glad that you're all ours, and we get to keep you around and enjoy your consistent and wonderful conversation. So thank you so much, Neil. It's a pleasure to have you, and we will be clear with AC3CU. And let's go down to John, N3AK. Same question to you.
You know, I wish I had some real interesting stories, but no, I haven't met a lot of interesting people, and that's not to say the people I know here are not interesting, but nothing that I can make a story about. Now, there have been a few people that I've known and didn't know that they were hams, and I, you know, see them at field days or some other place. Carlos comes to mind. I run into him a couple of times a year, one place or another on base, and he's kind of a regular, shows up to field day. He doesn't spend a whole lot of time there, but you know, he shows up, and he's popped into a few meetings over the years, here and there. I'm trying to think of who else. I know there's somebody else, I can't think of him right now, but it's kind of I like the small world aspect of it, that you run into somebody, you find out they're hams, and get to talking and share the experience, or somebody like you did, Rachel, that they did radio operations back in their service and did that. I remember the first field day I went to, I was in my mid-30s probably, and I was the youngest person there. And the guys that were pushing out CW at anywhere from 20 to 35 words a minute, and I was just blown away. I was like, wow, maybe one day. I know Tony does pretty good, so maybe we'll get some stories out of him. So that's all I got. This is N3AK back to K3HKI.
Well, John, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Just, you know, people that, you know, we didn't even know were hams, and then all of a sudden it's like you learn this extra layer of about somebody that you didn't already know. And I just find that stuff fascinating. Like, I'll run into people that I know at church and then find, like you said, all of a sudden it's like, oh, wow, you're at field day, or we meet at a different activity or at a ham fest. And I'm like, wow, I didn't know you were ham. I didn't know you were one either. So it's just kind of fun like that. And those ways that we cross paths with our work and our play and our hobby, and sometimes that can just be, it just really a lot of fun, and it opens up opportunities that we just never would have expected. So thank you so much for sharing your stories. That was really good. I appreciate that. And we'll be clear with N3AK. So let's go down to Rob in the portable KC3WBR.
Hey, good evening, folks. So I may lose you here. We're on the move, but we'll see what happens. So actually, my person's Tony, right? So in 5 TB. So he was. We worked together in the Navy. We were in a squadron together. We were flying overseas, right? And he would get on the radio back there. You know, it was all back of the bus stuff for me. So I wasn't really interested in it or paid attention to it. But, a year ago at the museum, you guys had the event where you were making the dummy loads. And I walked in and, oh, well, there's Tony. I know you, dude. So that was pretty interesting to meet him here. I knew he was here, and I really didn't make the connection that he was a ham radio operator. So anyway, it was good to walk in on him and, rekindle that friendship that we had, on active duty. So that's our story. That's all I got, Rachel. Thanks. Back to you, KC3WBR.
Thank you so much, Rob. Yeah, even just something as silly. It's like all of a sudden, we run into each other at the grocery store or wherever, and it's like, I don't know, it's just like you said, it makes the world a little bit smaller, and it rekindles friendships, and one thing about ham radio is that you never run out of things to talk about. And, God knows that dreaded silence just doesn't seem to happen when you're a ham. So thanks, Rob, and safe journey home wherever you're motoring to, and love to the family. And we'll be clear with KC3WBR. Okay, next on our list is Steve, KA3WAP. How are you tonight, sir?
I'm doing pretty well there, Rachel. Let's see. I guess I could talk about the time I was talking on the radio and put out my call, and Joe Walsh answered my call. I don't know if you know him, but he's a member of the Eagles band, and but he's also an avid ham radio operator. So I got to talk to him one day, probably about 5-6 years ago. And another famous ham I've talked to is Bob Heil, who makes a lot of equipment and stuff, and he used to have a show, I can't remember the name of it now, but all about ham radio. So I met a couple of famous hams, so like I said, it was interesting talking to them. And another thing that comes in handy now is my brother lives over in West Virginia, and he's a ham radio operator, so probably every other month or so we'll get on there and chew the fat for a little bit. And it's a good way to, you know, keep in touch with each other, and it doesn't cost anything. You just pick up the mic. Let's see. That's about it for me. This is KA3WAP back in net control.
Well, thank you so much, Steve. Yeah, I remember you mentioning that you had talked to Joe Walsh. That's really, really cool. Yeah, I want to say he was the guitarist for the Eagles. But yeah, just a really cool guy, super, really, really strong in the ham radio, super supporter of the hobby in general. And yeah, every now and then you actually meet someone famous on air, and they're just really cool people. So thanks for sharing that with us. What a cool story. And we'll be clear with KA3WAP. Now let's go down to Jim, KB1YZ. How are you tonight, Jim?
Hey, good evening, Rachel, and everyone on the net so far. Good topic. It's cool to hear what who other people have talked to, and yeah, there were quite a few that I thought were quite extraordinary. But one of the best hams that I met was right from Pax River. Lived in Hollywood. His name was Warren Dean, and his call sign was KW3N. And he was a veteran, Navy veteran, and I was in the Navy, so we had some things in common. And he told me that he was on Ford's Island during the Pearl Harbor attack in 1941. June 6th, right? I'm sorry, December 6th, 1941. Or was it December 7th? December 7th. I should know that, my daughter's birthday. But he was there, and he took part in some rescue operations, got some people out of the water that were blown up by bombs from the Japanese attack. And I just looked up his call sign on QRZ. Let me drop this. And the person with his call now, he's, of course, Warren's a silent key. Hasn't been around for 10 or 15, maybe 20 years. But Michael Payne has the call sign currently, and it says on the first line of his biography on QRZ, first licensed in 2005 as KI6BSS, changed to K6MOP, now KW3M, or Kilo Whiskey 3 November. Formerly Warren Dean, my grandfather's call sign, So I'm definitely going to try to make contact with this guy and tell him that I knew his grandfather, and it was an honor to know a hero from Pearl Harbor. That's my story, and there's probably a lot more to go along with it. There's other people here in the county that knew Warren even better than I did. K3HKI from KB1YZ.
Oh, Jim, you got me. I'm crying now. What a great story. Yes, it's just those very special people, and it's so wonderful that his grandson is honoring his call sign in his memory that way, and I really hope you get a chance to touch base with him. That is very, very cool. Thank you so much for sharing that story with us. So, do you have any announcements about the club for us?
I do have a flyer for the field day, and we still have to get some announcements. I'm not sure if Walt has made any progress yet with a little bit of advertising, but I will definitely get with him before, maybe a week before it's too late, and get some announcements out there. And as far as Tailgate Fest, I submitted an application to have our Tailgate Fest announced on the ARRL website, and apparently hasn't gone through because I just went back over there and it's still not showing up. So I'm going to try to resubmit that within the next couple of days. So hopefully we'll have everything in on time. Back to you. This is KB1YZ.
Cool. Well, thank you so much, Jim. We appreciate you following up on all of that, and let us know how it all works out and if you need any assistance. We'll be clear with KB1YZ. Let's go down to Walt, W3GYT. How are you tonight, Walt?
This is W3GYT. Good evening, everybody, and thank you so much, Rachel, for running the net. Really like your the way you have things. They're not quite the way the pages that Chris had laid out, because I've been following it, but think you're doing a great job here and keeping us all together, and I like your topic too as far as that goes. Anyway, so I've made some notes. I'll go down the list. For field day, I guess it was the last thing that KB1YZ mentioned here just before me. I missed the Zoom meeting on Thursday night, not because I didn't want to be there, but because once I finally opened up my email, it was in the evening and after the 7:30 meeting time. So that's not a very good excuse, I guess, but that's why I wasn't at the meeting last night, or Thursday night rather. The other thing as far as field day goes is, yes, I'm working on the contact with two of the newspapers, the Enterprise and the County Times. I also have the telephone number. I haven't contacted them yet, but there's a local radio station. I'm trying to remember the call of it. KIK, WKIK. That they have had a roving announcer that has come around and visited different places. So I'm not sure they're still doing that, but I'll check on that one. Okay, and then the other thing as far as field day goes, I was checking through the list of various items. We can get 100 points if we have a public relations table set up there at Solderly. And I don't remember hearing anything about that being set up, but I know that Tony's interested in points, and if we can set up a table, I'd be glad to volunteer to man that one after I do my safety duties. So anyway, Tony or John might be able to make a comment about that as to whether there's a public information table that's planned to be set up there. Anyway, it's good for 100 points if we're into points. And the other thing on your topic there, Rachel, I have met some very interesting people through amateur radio. One was a rather interesting contact on 146.52. I guess it's a standard calling frequency, and I was flying in a P3 to the West Coast. I don't remember the call to anybody, but I checked with the pilot in command, and I said I'd like to run my amateur radio on about 146 megahertz. He said, "Oh yeah, go right ahead. That'll be fine." So I tried the repeater frequency that I had set in. It was 146 or 0464 machine, and I brought up about 4 of them. Of course, we were about 28,000 feet or something, 20, something like that. Anyway, so I had pretty good coverage. But all the repeaters came up, so I switched to 5.2, and I did make a contact on that, so I don't know where the person was. So I didn't really have an eyeball with them or anything like that, because we were kind of separated by a few miles of air. But that was one very interesting contact to be able to did a little bit of aeronautical mobile. And the other person that I met through amateur radio happened to be my Elmer, and the fellow was a radio operator on a cruiser that came up to shell the coast of Japan. So his name was John Bledsoe, but I don't remember his call sign. But I'm sure he's not with us anymore, because that was back in 1958 that I talked with him, and he taught me my 5 words a minute code. So those are that standpoint. And I think that runs down my list of comments. Rachel, thanks again for running the net, and so we'll turn the net back to net control there. This is W3GYT clear.
Well, thank you so much, Walt. And as for the table, we usually set that table up as part of the GOTA station. So it's this big welcome when you walk in the door, and then you can also go in and sit next to the radio operator. And Chris says that you are welcome to man that table so that we can definitely have someone who's catching people as they're walking in the door. But yes, I have all the materials for that to set up. It's the same stuff that I use for the STEM Fest.
Sounds like a winner.
Alrighty, and thank you again for your stories and all of that you are doing to help us be successful in our upcoming events. And we'll be clear with W3GYT. This brings us down to Rick, W3OST. How are you tonight, Rick?
Good evening, Rachel, and everybody on the net tonight. Yeah, I guess I don't have anything quite notable as Jim's story regarding the grandson of the individual he knew way back then. I guess most notable contact I made was chasing Parks on the Air one day and made contact with one individual that was a retired school teacher from Oakville Elementary, lived here in Mechanicsville. I guess that's about the most notable contact I've made. So with that, I'll turn it back to net control. This is W3OST.
Well, that's still pretty notable, because what are the odds that that's the person you're going to catch on the radio? So, yeah, that's pretty cool, and, you know, and again, you haven't been a ham that long, and so I'm sure that you're going to have many more cool stories to come up with and interesting people that you just get a chance to talk to, even if it's, like I said, sometimes for me, like my first DX contact was a guy in Slovenia named Jan, who I swear everyone who's ever, like, done long-distance contacts has a contact with Jan. He's that just seems to be the thing. So that was kind of cool for me that I was able to for that to be my first contact, and so we all just have a chance to cross paths with just some amazing people who are willing to share their knowledge with us, and sometimes some really cool stories, and also again finding out that people are hams that you had no idea were hams. So we'll be clear with Rick, W3OST, and that brings us down to the bottom of the list, Tony, N5TB. How you doing, man?
Oh, I'm just happy to be alive. A little bit of a scare last week, and ended up in one of our finest medical facilities around here, just north of the area, and I was in there for about 4 days and had all kind of pokes and prods and sticks and jerks and things and shocks and things like that going on, and I've been to the other side and back. So I'm happy to be here right now, and trying my best at good recovery, but it's been a real struggle. Well, let's see here. Got a couple of interesting tidbits. Yes, one of them was Rod Bond, after being an amateur radio operator for 30 years. We go to a meeting last year. I think it was, the November meeting. We're sitting there, Rob walks in, and I turn around and look. I was perplexed. Hey, I know him. He knows me. We did time together, Rob Bond and I, KC3WBR. He was a flight engineer, and I was a jet engine mechanic, and Control Squadron down in Jacksonville in the early 90s and late 90s, I believe. I think that was probably my second tour to VP Squadron. But it's great to see him here and be able to pass on anything that I might be able to, and love being Elmer to others, because that's certainly what happened with me. My first Elmer was KD4HXT. His name was Dave, and he was also Diamond Dave. He was in the broadcasting business, and he was a DJ on 96.9 Cool FM in Jacksonville, Florida. So after I became a ham in 91, I think we went to the Orlando Ham Fest in 92, and first one I had ever been to. Had no money to spend, but you know, it didn't hurt anything to just walk around and look and just be perplexed and awe and shock of all the different radio gear that was around and the things that you could buy during those years. So I made the rounds around, and then the Orlando Ham Fest, great, big, huge place, and it was in one of the fairgrounds there, so in Orlando, so it was great big acreage, 20, 30 acres, something like that. And I ran back across Dave. He was in a little concessions area, sitting there in a couple chairs at his table, talking to a group of guys. And so I sat down with him and started the chit-chat as well. And what little I knew, and more questions had to arise from that. I had more questions than answers and stories during that time. Well, the guy sitting right next to him turned out to be Gordon West, WSB6NOA. And if you're familiar with Gordon West, he was an author out in California who authored a lot of the initial and early amateur radio exam prep test booklets. And it was really neat to meet him, and certainly enjoyed that opportunity, and is one that I'll cherish for quite a while. And as far as meeting any other extraordinary people, whenever I go to a meeting somewhere, wherever it may be, I run into some unusual characters because each club is full of them, but certainly enjoy it. For Walt, if you do end up getting the field day article published in any newspaper local here, let me know what it is. I will need to make a copy or scan that article into the submissions that I make after field day is over. And for John, yes, I am hoping to be able to sit down and run 2 or 3 hours or however long it allows me to run a full CW station at the speeds that I run. And we'll just see what happens and how my health is at that time and if it will allow that. So glad to be here. Hello to everybody. I'm doing a good recovery best I can and just trying to make it. This is N5 TV, back to net. Thanks, Rachel.
Absolutely, sir. So glad to hear you, and you need to just stay on this side of the dirt, please. Glad you're managed to enjoy another day around the sun. So, and thank you again for also sharing all those cool stories. Yeah, this is exactly why we decided to do this. It's just this is one of the things that's fun about ham radio is we get a chance to meet some really interesting people, and it doesn't have to be famous or anything else, but interesting to us, people who made a difference in our lives or just left an impression on us that is a lot of fun and just, fun conversation to have with each other, swap stories. So that's all we have so far. We'll be clear with N5TB. That is the end of our list. Is there anyone else wishing to check in to the St. Mary's County Amateur Radio Association Weekly Net? Please come now. Is there any additional information or business for the St. Mary's County Net? Please come now.
W3GYT for a recheck.
Thank you, Walt. Go ahead with your recheck.
For N5TB, I'll make sure you get a copy of what I'm putting out. I've got it all ready together to get over to the newspapers. And let's see, that was the main thing. So, the other thing is, Tony, you're in my prayers every night, and so know that there's all of us with you in making sure that you continue to be with us. So you certainly have all our blessings, and we're happy to hear your voice, that's for sure. So with that, turn the net back to net control.
Thank you so much, Walt. I couldn't have said it better myself. Like I said, every day I hear your voice, I'm glad to hear you, man. So we'll be clear with W3GYT. Is there any other announcements, comments, or rechecks for the net? Please come now.
KB1YZ recheck.
Go ahead with your recheck, Jim.
Okay, just an announcement. The Talk Around Tuesday net starts already. It's already started on 28.345 megahertz, and I'm going to check in myself. Hopefully, I hear a couple more people in there. They've been doing pretty well. A lot of people check in on 10. Then we usually switch over to 80, or to 6 meters, and it's been a lot of fun. This is KB1YZ.
Thank Thank you so much, Jim. Yeah, I try to check in almost every time we have a net, and I tell you what, I usually can only hear 1 or 2 people, so who knows, maybe I'll get lucky today. Thanks for your recheck, sir, and we'll be clear with KB1YZ. All right, any other additional business for the net this evening? Okay, there being no additional business for the net, I would like to remind all of our listeners that the information about the St. Mary's County Amateur Radio Association can be found at the St. Mary's County Amateur Radio, or smcara.groups.io, or the k3hki.org. This is Net Control returning the repeater to normal amateur use. This net is closed. Good evening, and thanks for all of your participation. And of course, thank you so much to the maintainers for allowing us to use this repeater for our net. This is K3HKI Clear.
KB1.
KB1YZ, KM4NHN.
Hey Joe, this is Jim, KB1YZ.
Yeah, I copy you, Jim. Yeah, I'm just getting at the Westmoreland Amateur Radio Club meeting. So, I was hoping to kiss the net, but I see I missed it.
Yeah, I just went to check in with the Talk Around Tuesday. I picked up the wrong microphone. That's why you heard part of my call. Good to hear you, Joe.
Oh, yeah. That's easy to do. I've done that before myself.
Yeah, I'm listening. They're on at 28.345. I just have to go up a little bit, tune up, and then jump in there. Maybe we'll hear you in there when you get home.
Maybe. I'll see what I can do when I get home. I still got a half-hour drive. But I'll let you get back to it. KM4NHN.
All right, good to hear you again. Yeah, someday I'd like to get over to one of those meetings. I'm not sure if that will happen. We had some good times camping there at Westmoreland State Park, though. All right, 7-3s.